For coming to my channel. I am Jackie Horton, your wellness and health specialist. I am here to promote wellness and good health.
The real you is breathing down your neck, begging you to manifest. It's got to be a lifestyle change. When you shift your paradigm, when you shift your thinking, only then what you see in your head, you will hold in your hand.
Hi, thank you for joining me today. Thanks for coming to my channel. I am Jackie Horton. I am your virtual wellness and health specialist. Today is Friday, Village Circle Friday. So thank you for coming today. So as I said earlier, Village Circle is it's somewhat different than the other days of the week because today I get to invite you to come to the circle and to talk and to think about some things that does have an impact on our community. So I like to call it or describe it as a supportive place for us to talk about topics surrounding our healthy village circle and for you all as the village to connect with each other. This is a place for open and honest discussion on topics that impact our mental, physical, and emotional spirit. So thanks for coming. So today, just to go over some things that have been coming up and almost continuing with discussing some topics that I had over the last few weeks. One of the things about, having a village circle, I do think that there are society pressures that are impacting us. And it does impact our smaller community circle, whether it be social, financial, family, and so forth. And to me, not Jacqueline, the therapist, or the life and health coach, and so on, but to me, most of these pressures are initially rooted in self-preservation. And that self-preservation becomes a push for a paradigm shift in the larger culture. So recently, you all saw on social media about the Riverboat, Alabama issue, the incident where the employee was attacked by white men, I think some women as well, and it just different memes had come about as a result of that, different parodies and skits. So they give you a full side of both perspectives and so on. But I think the one thing that was symbolic for me was just seeing blacks and whites in unity on the response of the situation that took place. Both sides were stating that it was wrong to attack, this gentleman who was doing his job, one, and number two, the outcome of the arrest was also applauded as well. And, that's definitely a different change. I think we can all attest to that because, the unity was just really forthcoming and it was forthcoming quickly. And as you know, I like to connect things to also symbolically to the Black Lives Matter movement, because for me, when I saw the different responses from blacks and whites with this incident, I remember walking, talking, being in grassroots meetings, being in churches, and planning and organizing for different ways to represent the Black Lives movements outside of what you saw on TV and what different people have spoken about. I was involved. I gave money. I do not regret any of that. I know there are stories about and maybe some facts about, some things, some vandalism taking place and one of the leaders, misusing the funds and so forth. But overall, I do believe that movement had an impact on the transforming of people's minds and thoughts regarding things that took place in our communities where it bothered us and it disturbed us. And just so people know, I know there were some people coming out, saying, well, if we could just be like this, with each other, we would be further along. And excuse me. And I almost have a question for people who say that, many black people, is that, are you telling me that you walk through America and you do not see any even in your own home, any consistent form of unity. Because if you didn't, I don't even know how any of us could even do what we're doing if we didn't have unity. So I don't know. It's just really a strange statement to me because I don't feel like I don't have a community around me. And so, but just a question. So I'm just stating that I was just thankful to see that response. And even, you know, with the unity, even with that incident coming together in one unity, you know, despite the response about the affirmative action and slavery, you know, being rewritten and by some as an apprenticeship for Africans, and even with the decline of white support for the Black Lives Movement, it still is, was, and will continue to be transforming, because there are some things that, when we hurt each other, we receive consequences, you know, for the most part. But when others who are either another race or another authority figure is somehow, it is okay to injure or hurt or do something out of order to one person that, you know, that's not even a threat. And I don't need to go into stories about, you know, different incidents. You can look those up yourself. So the other thing that was kind of interesting this week for me, and I'm really behind, I did not know the Barbie movie was so controversial. I kind of laughed when I heard about it, and I kind of thought, like, who's going to want to see that? No offense to the writers and the directors or the producers, but I've heard some positive things about, you know, all the imagery and just, you know, just the storyline and not so positive things about the storyline. And just, you know, I heard a lot of different, you know, reviews about it. And the one thing that came up to me, because I do not plan to go see it, I don't particularly have an interest in it. The one thing that came up to me is still this selling point on, you know, gender equality. I mean, it's become an obsession of some people, as if, you know, as if somewhere, like, we're kind of living in like similar countries, you know, because some of us desire to, you know, to have our husbands and lead our home. Some of us desire to have, you know, I would say intrinsic roles that we play and responsibilities. But it just seems to, you know, it seems with the reviews that I've heard from Amala and Joe and Brittany and Matt, it just seems like somehow the gender equality still pays the bill. You know, it just gets a lot of money, it gets a lot of interest, and it gets a lot of attention on a culture paradigm that's trying to be pushed forward to shift. I don't think what I read and seen as far as the reviews, that it was just an innocent movie about some, you know, idealized white female and idealized white male just kind of walking around being very pretty and very, you know, perfect. But it had a storyline that sells now. You know, women are still trying to figure out how to be equal to men, and doing a lot to do that. And so it's just interesting. So if you watched it, you know, you can share your reviews. But that's what I got from it, and it kind of, you know, brought up for me, you know, Woman King. I know when that came out, the writers and the directors, I think the producer was an African American woman. The writers and the producers had stated that they were so inspired by the 3 Black women who started the Black Lives Movement that they went and found this story about Woman King, of this entire woman-led army who saved her people's empire in Ireland from colonizers, and you know. And I just think, you know, it's just a selling point, mainly for Black people. I mean, you know, it's a selling point. Gender inequality and gender, you know, differences is a selling point still. And yeah, if you find those things inspiring, that's totally fine. I think the one thing that I would definitely, encourage people to continue to do what they know is to do to keep peace in their home, to keep love and joy for both male and female who are married, or who are together, or who are trying to join a family, because the reality is these are illusions, and maybe that was Woman King was based on a true story, but these are situations where, in your private lives may not be how you want to conduct yourselves. And there's certainly ways to be respectful and honor one another in their roles, or even, honor one another just for being human, that you can still do in peace, joy, and love, and keeping things harmonious in your family. So the other thing that I want to just applaud and lift up President Biden and his administration regarding the student loan scam. Sorry, y'all. I got some loans too. But I thank you so much for providing some relief to many of us. I think about a year ago, there was, before the student loans was taken over by another student loan servicing center. We've had several. I joined two and nothing happened. I didn't even hear from those people anymore. Anyway, but I want to thank you for being attentive to this and hearing the cries of many Americans who are just strapped with these loans. I thank you all for the creativity in trying to address it, and also, forgiving some of these loans. I would make a request for 2 more things, and I hope others would join me. So definitely for those who have worked in more disadvantaged areas, as well as nonprofits, and maybe in a profession that does not, garner a very, 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 very large wage of money, and also have 10 or more years experience in those areas, I want to write something and request, if this can be considered one, to eliminate the daily interest rate, because we're paying principal, and we're paying interest but not principal when we pay our loans, so still it just continues to carry. So if you can consider eliminating the interest rate, the daily interest rate, that would help a lot. The second thing is I would make a kind request and plea that you return our loans to our initial amount, and also give us up to 15 years if we are in full-time employed adults, up to 15 years, not 15 years, but up to 15 years with electronic payment program to pay off the initial loan amount, the principal. And of course, if we pay that consecutively, and there's a remaining, 5 years on the loan, make out some arrangements where, lump sums can be paid in 5 years if it's not forgiven. But the interest rate, eliminate that and return it to the original loan amount. Because here's the thing, you all, we pay off everything else. I mean, some of us have houses, some of us have cars, even some people have added boats to their lives, and so on. And so it's not that people are mismanaging their money. It's just, it's just really that, the loans are just extremely hard to catch. We have a deadline to pay off car notes that is not daily interest, which is still a loan, a bank loan, and also houses, which is still a loan, but is not daily interest. I'm not really sure why student loans are, created in such a way, but we'll do some research on that. So those would be the only 2 things that I would request and add to it. And then also I just continually get flooded with a lot of things around, feminists and LGBTQ. They're very separate, but just kind of like this whole shift of paradigm, this whole shift in paradigm, in our paradigm, in our culture, that just keeps coming up. It just keeps this fight. And it really is to try to, remove at least those people who were born in the 60s and the late 60s, maybe, 70s too. Sort of like we came from a different era, and where we just really, have a real sense of thought around family, church, community. And this new generation, I don't know if you want to call them Gen Z or whatever, but I don't think it's all feminists, and I don't think it's all LGBT community, but it's just such a demand this is what all inclusive means, is that this is all inclusive, and it's kind of getting scary. It's kind of getting very uncomfortable because we don't have to think alike to be respectful of each other, and I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It certainly feels like it's a little fanatic and a little obsessive thinking, along with poor emotional regulation, and it's not creating commodities, it's not creating unity. It's actually creating some distance in certain circles. So just make sure that all inclusive doesn't mean that I sacrifice or you sacrifice for that matter to be. Just let's just make sure we are respectfully being respectful. And then I gotta hold myself to it as well too. I can't be calling y'all out and I am calling myself out. So I'm just gonna start with just really prefacing that I'm really concerned about Black women today. We are just not doing well, ladies. The platforms that I'm seeing us on, we're talking about that we're foregoing marriages and having children, not, with men that we call dusty and all that. And then we have multiple fathers, and then there's this kind of, celebration of multiple fathers. We got, we're just on display, and multiple, we're just liberated to the fullest. We're having sex everywhere, and it's evidence because we're kind of having kids everywhere as well. And this whole promotion of queen and queendom behaviors, and I'm really concerned because there's almost like there are two worlds here, and of Black women, and it's almost like there's a sense of reality with delusions, that's taken place. I mean, there's this big, myth that Black women are just really killing it in businesses and making a lot of money, and no, that's not it. No, we're not. No, we have to kind of address that, and the ones who are who are alone and being in single parenting, they, it's kind of hard to be a boss businesswoman and you have children and you decided to be single. I mean, women are saying on platforms that they decide to be single despite becoming moms. And, it's almost like the child doesn't pay a price by not having a father and the whole side of the father in his or her life. Just so you know, I'm gonna jump into my therapist role. I have not met one adult that said thank you so much because I did not want to have a father, or I did not want to know my father's family. I've never heard that. So I'm not really sure what's the animosity. No, I am sure what the animosity is, but I just kind of wanted to just kind of talk to us about that, because those are consequences that you really going to directly pay, but the community is going to pay as well. And with that, I know people of the faith, because they always want to start with the first scripture from Matthew 7, which is don't be judging, or you will be judged. But let me read to you the entire text, not the entire, but most of it. And I'm gonna read from two versions, New International Version. It does say, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You are a hypocrite when you haven't worked on yourself. First, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And so, if we want to look at that in today's terms, we're talking about over harshly, judging people, and you out here, doing this, and and you may be doing some version of that as well. So trust me, I've checked myself, and I'm open to critiquing and so forth. And I'm more open to people who know me, who have walked with me in my transformation. So when they see something, I'm more prone to check myself. But So that's what the hypocrite is, and that's what the judging is about, not over harshly checking people and judging people. But here's the Message version. You know, there are different written versions of the Bible, just using different English words, okay? So it's not that the Bible changed and the word changed, it's just changing how we use the words. Okay, Matthew's 1, I think 7. I want to read all of it, but I won't. Matthew 7, 1, and let's do 1 through 5, just to be respectful. Don't pick on people, jump on their failures, criticize their faults, unless, of course, you want the same treatment. The critical spirit has a way of boomeranging. It's easy to see a smudge on your neighbor's face and be oblivious to the ugly sneer on your own. Do you have the nerve to say, "Let me wash your face for you," when your own face is distorted by contempt? It's this whole traveling road show mentality all over again, playing a holier-than-thou part instead of just living your part. Wipe that ugly sneer off your own face, and you might be fit to offer a washcloth to your neighbor. So I hope you heard the two versions of do not judge unless you shall be judged. It is about being overly critical and very abusive and harsh and, over exaggerated and judging somebody. Because one thing that I learned from my pastor last week is that, do not go in with a condemning spirit, because God has forgiven me and others as well, which he had every reason for me to be disappointed and to hold me in contempt, but he didn't. So my statement today was not to condemn. It was really to just kind of give you a different version of what that scripture meant, and hopefully you are able to receive it and walk more closely with people who can help you come out of a way of life and thinking of yourself that is detrimental to your whole self, your children, and your future. And the last thing for today, I want to say hello to all the educators of universities, colleges, public, private, charter schools across the U.S. I pray that you have provision, protection, and promise to have a fulfilling year. I want you to know that you are an important instrument to the improvement of our society. Because you have done the work to learn how to transform minds by educating on necessary studies, you have equipped our young people to be well-rounded thinkers and contributors. Here's my thing for you all, and I hope that we become aligned in some of these things. I want to say that you are not security, you are not the absent parent, you are not the father to the fatherless, the bread for the hungry, or the easy target for attacks by parents, city officials, and other entities that make what you do and how you do it so hard. You came to change people, and some of you have eventually have been changed, and not for the better, and have left the field. I hope that there's a possibility to unite so we can start talking about these things and pushing forward these policies to help you get the provision, the full protection from everybody as well, children as well. We've seen the battle royals with the kids, and as well as the promise to educate so we can transform minds. And I would say, talking about, sexual identity, gender identity, and what takes place in adult relationships should not be part of the school academic process. That is not what we pay tax dollars for. We would like for our children to be competitive, to live productive lives, and to walk out of schools to go to universities, and to also continue to build our society for the better. All right, I was kind of preachy there. But thank you so much for joining me at the Village Circle. Please comment and please let others know. And you have a great weekend. All the best. Thank you.